There is an envelope on your kitchen table. It has been there for 6 hours. You have walked past it 14 times. You have made coffee you didn't drink. You have stood at the window, watching the street below, like it might tell you something. It doesn't. The envelope is not dramatic looking. No official seal. No threatening weight. Just a plain white rectangle. With your name on the front. In handwriting you don't recognize. Inside it, a single page. And on that page, an offer. Complete restart. New identity. New location. New life. Fully funded. Fully arranged. Everything you have quietly dreamed of. In the specific hours between 2 and 4 a.m., when the life you are living feels like a coat that belongs to someone else. One condition. You leave within 48 hours. You tell no one. You say goodbye to nobody. You simply stop existing in the world that knows you and begin existing in one that doesn't. And the most terrifying part is not the decision itself. It is how long it took you to feel something other than relief. Before you decide anything, you need to look clearly at what is actually on the table, not the fantasy version, not the version you tell people when they ask how you are, and you say fine, the real version, the one that exists in the gap between what your life looks like and what it feels like. Level 1, the work. You have a job, pays enough. It is not what you thought you would be doing at this point in your life, but then very few people are doing what they thought they would be doing, and most of them have found a way to call that maturity rather than surrender. You are good at the job. That is almost the worst part, because being good at something you didn't choose is its own kind of trap. It generates praise that feels hollow, promotions that feel like deeper investment in the wrong direction, a reputation built around a version of you that showed up by accident and stayed because leaving seemed ungrateful. You have given this job 6 years, 6 years of arriving early and staying late and solving problems that will be replaced by new problems the moment you solve them. 6 years of being reliably, invisibly essential, and the job would post your position within 2 weeks of your leaving. You know this. You have always known this. Level 2. The relationships. This is where it gets harder, because the work is easy to leave in theory. The people are not. There is your mother, who calls every Sunday at 11 a.m., with a reliability that is equal parts comfort and weight, who needs you in ways she has never said directly, but communicates through the specific tone of her voice when too many weeks pass, who built a version of her future that includes your proximity, who would not understand a disappearance, who would, in fact, never fully recover from one. You know this. There is your best friend, the one who has been there since before you knew who you were, who has seen every version of you, the worst ones, the embarrassing ones, the ones you have never shown anyone else, who would, if you vanished without a word, spend years constructing explanations that all end with them having failed you somehow. You know this too. And there is the other one, the person who is not quite everything, but is closer to everything than anyone has ever been. The relationship that is not perfect. No relationship is, but is real in the specific way that very few things in your life have ever been real. Who would wake up tomorrow and reach for their phone and find nothing, and then keep finding nothing for the rest of their life. Level 3. The life you haven't lived yet. And then there is the thing that the envelope is actually offering. Not just escape from what is, but access to what hasn't been yet. The version of your life where you made different choices, where the career followed the thing you actually loved, instead of the thing that made practical sense, where you built yourself from a clean foundation, without the accumulated weight of everyone's expectations, where you woke up in a place that didn't know your history and could meet you as you are now, rather than as who you were when you first arrived. The envelope isn't just offering you a new life. It is offering you the answer to the question you have never let yourself finish asking. Who would you be if you had started over? You have 48 hours. Let's account for every one. Hours 0 to 12. The inventory. The first thing you do is walk through your life like an appraiser, room by room, relationship by relationship. Not sentimentally, clinically. What is here that is irreplaceable? What is here that is habit? Wearing the costume of meaning, you look at your apartment, the objects in it that you chose, versus the objects that simply accumulated. You look at your phone, the contacts, the threads, the conversations that are alive, and the ones that exist only as history. You look at your calendar, the commitments that matter, and the ones you keep, because canceling them requires an explanation you don't want to give. And what you find in this cold and honest inventory is that a larger percentage than you expected falls into the second category: habit, accumulation, inertia, the life-shaped object you have been maintaining rather than living. This finding does not make the decision easier. It makes it more honest. Hours 12 to 24. The people. This is the phase that almost breaks you, because at hour 14, you pick up your phone with no plan, and you read through the last conversation you had with your mother. It is ordinary. Sunday at 11 a.m. She talked about the neighbor's dog. You talked about nothing in particular. It ended with her saying, "Talk next week. Talk next week." And if you take the envelope, there is no next week. There is just her. At 11 a.m. on a Sunday, calling a number that rings out, and then calling again, and then calling your friend, and then the specific escalation of a parent who cannot reach their child, which has only one emotional destination, and it is the worst one. You put the phone down. You pick it up again. You write a message you don't send. You write for more. The unsent messages are all versions of the same thing. I need you to know that this isn't about you. I need you to know that I love you. I need you to know that I had to. And then you remember the condition. No goodbyes. Not because it is arbitrary cruelty, but because a goodbye changes everything. A goodbye can be followed. A goodbye creates a trail. A goodbye gives people a shape to hold on to, and a shape can become an investigation. No goodbye is the cost of a clean break, and a clean break is the only kind that works. Hours 24 to 36. The doubt. This is the phase where the mind turns on itself, where every argument for leaving generates an equal and opposing argument for staying, and you sit in the oscillation until your body is exhausted from the motion. The doubt says, who are you without the people who know you? Identity is relational. You exist in part because others hold a version of you in their memory. Without witnesses, who are you? The counter says, who are you with them? The version of you that exists in their eyes is the version they met years ago. It is not wrong, but it is fixed, and you have been growing in directions that no one around you has quite kept pace with. The people who love you love a version of you that is increasingly historical. And then the doubt goes somewhere darker. It says, what if the new life is worse? What if the fantasy of starting over is only sustainable as a fantasy? What if you arrive in the new place with the new name and the clean slate and discover that you brought yourself with you? Because you always do. The geography changes. The self does not automatically, not without the work. That has nothing to do with location. Hours 36 to 48. The decision. By hour 36, the oscillation stops, not because you have found clarity, but because you have found something more useful than clarity. You have found the question underneath all the other questions. The one that, once asked, makes all the others answerable. It is not, do I deserve a new life? It is not, will they survive without me? It is not even, is this the right decision? The question is, if I stay, not because I want to, but because I cannot bear the cost of leaving, what does that make the next 10 years? You sit with that question for a long time, and in the sitting, something shifts. Not dramatically, not with music, just a quiet internal rearrangement of what you are willing to accept as the terms of your own life. There is a version of this story where you get to say goodbye, where the condition didn't exist, and you could spend the last 48 hours doing the thing you actually needed to do. Let's go there, not to make the decision harder, but because these words deserve to exist somewhere, even here, even unsaid. To your mother, you would have told her that the Sunday calls were never nothing, that ordinary is underrated, that talking about the neighbor's dog was its own kind of love, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that just shows up, week after week, in the same time slot, reliable as gravity. You would have told her that she did enough, more than enough, that the leaving is not a verdict on the giving. To your best friend, you would have told them that being known completely by another person is the rarest thing, that they did that for you, that the versions of you they witnessed and kept, without judgment, are the reason you have any sense of who you actually are. That disappearing without a word is the most dishonest thing you will ever do to someone who only ever asked you to be honest, and that you are sorry, fully and without caveat. Sorry. To the one who was closest, you would have said nothing clever, nothing constructed. You would have sat across from them, in the place you always sat, and looked at them for long enough to memorize the specific geometry of a face that made you feel less alone in the world. And you would have said, you were real, in a life that often wasn't. You were the most real thing in it. I need you to know that, whatever comes next for you, you were enough. You were more than enough. This is not about you. This is about me, finally choosing myself, for the first time. And I needed you to know that I know what I'm leaving. I know exactly what I'm leaving. The envelope is still on the table. It has been there for 47 hours now. You have 1 hour left. And here is what you know, that you didn't know when you first walked past it. A restart is not an erasure. You cannot erase the people. You cannot erase the years. You cannot walk into a new life and leave the old one in a clean sealed room that no part of you ever returns to. What you can do, what the envelope is actually offering, is the chance to build forward from the truest version of yourself, not the version that was shaped by everyone else's needs, not the version that stayed because leaving cost too much, the version that chose, deliberately, eyes open, knowing the cost, paying it anyway. The question was never whether you deserved a new life. Everyone deserves a new life. The question was whether you were willing to accept that every new beginning is also an ending, that you cannot hold the old life and step into the new one, that the door only opens one way. 47 hours ago, you felt relief before you felt anything else. Hold on to that, not as permission, as information. The first feeling, before the mind intervenes, is usually the truest one. Whatever you decide, in the next hour, decide it as yourself, not as the person everyone else needs you to be, as the person who has been waiting quietly for exactly this moment. The envelope is on the table. The hour is yours. Some doors only open once. The question is whether you walk through them